Okay, so let's get started. So hi everyone, and let's discuss a paper soon after reading it. And the concept of this journal club is that we pick up a paper just 2 hours ago, and then read the paper. Then after that, start discussing the paper soon after reading it. And today, unfortunately, one of our member, Aniko, she is sick, so she is absent. But we have two people today. Ryoichi, can you explain yourself first?
Yes, hi, I'm Ryoichi Watanabe at Kyoto University and a PhD student.
Thank you, Ryoichi. And my name is Yota Kawashima. I'm a research assistant at ATL Japan and Monash University, Australia. Okay. Today's let's discuss is a bit of different from the usual, and we are going to provide a really quick discussion to you. And today we are going to discuss a paper titled Identification and Disruption of a Neural Mechanism for Accumulation Prospective Metacognitive Information Prior to Decision Making, written by Kentaro Miyamoto, Nadesha Trudel, Kevin Kamermans, Michele Lin, Alberto Lazari, Leonardo Verhagen, Marco Wittmann, and Matthew Rushworth, published in Neuron 2021. And sorry if I mispronounce your name. It's a very difficult for Japanese to pronounce non-Japanese name. But anyway, so we are going to discuss the paper. And first, I'm going to give you a really quick summary of this paper. And so first, this paper is talking about the decision-making and metacognition. And for example, let's just picture this. This is an analogy I came up with. And I like playing soccer, football. So I like this idea. Anyway, so in the soccer or football, it is said to be better to make your decision before you're receiving a pass from your teammate. Because if you can make a decision before receiving a pass, you can smoothly, play the next action. I mean, let's say the pass to another player or start dribbling and things like that. So in soccer, it's important to make a decision before receiving a pass. Okay, in this situation, let's say you yourself is very close to the goal, to the opposite team. So your chance to score is really high. And you are about to receive a pass from your teammate. And in front of you, you can see two strikers, let's say striker A and striker B. The difference between striker A and striker B is that striker A is much better player than B. So their probability or chance of his scoring the goal is, let's say, 1. So whenever he receives a pass in front of the goal, he will score the goal. On the other hand, the player B is not that good compared to player A. So the player B, the probability of player B scoring a goal is, let's say, 0.5. So given that, you can definitely, or here your aim is to score the goal. So your option will be possible to score A. It's very obvious. But let's say if you yourself feel that making a pass to striker A is more difficult than passing to player B, because of in between you and the player or striker A, there is another opponent. There is an opponent, so he can block your pass. So the probability of where you're making the successful pass to A is not the 100%. On the other hand, if you make a pass to player B, there are no opponents, so the probability is 1. So you can make the pass really easily. So given this situation, or here I wanted to introduce two different concepts of or two different types of probabilities. The one is external probability and the other is internal probability. And here external probability refers to the probability of striker scoring a goal. So it's not related to your ability, right? But if we consider another probability, internal probability, which is related to the probability of your making successful pass to another player, it's up to your skill. So when you're making a decision, you need to consider two types of probability: external probability, internal probability. And in this paper, the authors try to first measure the internal probability and external probability. And after that, they set it up an fMRI recording and try to investigate or find the neural correlates of specifically focusing on internal probability. And then after that, they found that anterior lateral prefrontal cortex is specifically related to internal probability, not external probability. So in order to confirm that observation findings, they set it up another experiment, fMRI recording with TMS. So they investigated the causal role of alPFC. And finally, they found that the deactivation or disruption of activity in alPFC causes or impaired the behavioral performance in the internal probability. That's a quick summary. And I need to say that I'm taking a weekend online course this year, and I'm going to present do a journal club on this paper. So I asked Ryoichi to read, and I just wanted to discuss this paper with him. Also, in this paper within just 1.5 hours, I only focused on the behavioral method part, not the fMRI part and TMS part. So today we are going to talk only about the experimental paradigm. Ryoichi, do you want to say something, or do you want to add anything to my summary?
Okay, so I agree with your summary. So in this study, in the experiment, two or three stages of the task, right? First one is metacognitive judgment and the perceptual decision, and finally outcome feedback, right? And in the first section, metacognitive judgment, there are two tasks with external external and internal condition, right? And the external condition, and the authors used the, how to say, the moving dot task, and external condition task and internal condition task, and the participants choose which one they will do. And after of choice, the participants indeed did the task who task they chose. And if their response was correct, they were received something outcome or something additional fee. I think this is the process of the task. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Ryoichi. So I did not explain anything about the exact experiments in this paper. So yes, so this paper utilized the random dot kinematogram.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether the pronunciation is correct, but RDK. So which is that within a circle, there will be many dots presented. Then each of them moving in a random directions, but by changing the coherence, the level of coherence, you can see the overall movement of dots within the circle. So the task is basically to detect the direction of the dots as a whole. And yes, and as Ryoichi mentioned, that unlike the standard RDK in this experiment, they first presented two RDK simultaneously on the left side and right side, and each RDK stimulus related to different types of probability, internal probability and external probability. And then first participant choose which task you are going to take or perform. And then after that, participant perform the task which they selected, and then just do the standard RDK with a button press response. Then depending on the response, they will get the reward outcome. Here, by changing the level of coherence, they try to make the task more difficult. So it's try to assess the internal probability. So if it's more coherent, or let's say that if all dots move in the same direction on the, let's say in the right way, in the right direction, it is easier to imagine that you can perform the task with 100% accuracy, because obviously the dot moves in the right side or left sides. So by varying the level of coherence, they try to assess the probability, internal probability. And on the other hand, they also vary different parameter, which is the number of dots within the circle. And it indicates how likely you are going to get the reward when you make a correct response. So if you see a lot of dots within a circle, the probability of you are getting reward by making a correct response is high. But if there are only a few dots within the circle, you will less likely to get the reward. So by varying two different parameters. So the level of coherence and also the number of dots. They try to, measure the different types of probability. I understand like this explanation is not sufficient to understand the experiment itself and how they try to measure the internal and external probability. But if I can show something or a figure, I think I can make this idea more concrete or more, I can easily present this experiment or how it works, but by only words, it's a bit difficult. So hopefully, this explanation works to the listener, or if you're interested in the paper, just please read the paper by yourself. But anyway, Ryoichi, do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
Oops.
And for me, this experiment process is interested. So, the first of choice of metacognitive judgment, if participants choose the external condition, then these response data was categorized by the external conditions analysis, and otherwise for internal conditions analyze, and the authors analyze the parameters. Means then the authors analyze the type 1 or type 2. Type 2 is like the metacognitive performance, and type 1 is the discriminative performance. And so independent variables is like how the coherence rate on the internal condition, or the number of dots on the external condition. Yeah. And yes, I think that's all of the explanation of this task. And yes, and I think it is so interesting of your explanation that internal metacognition means like the how our metacognition for our skills or our performance, and external like the how can we pass to our teammate or our skills, and next the external performance or external metacognitive condition means like our teammates goal skills and goal performance rate. Yeah, and in this study also the coherence of the dot means how participants can detect the moving of the dots. So it means the participants' ability or metacognitive ability, and like a dot, number of the dot means external metacognition, and like the how this is not related to our performance, but related to the how much bonus we get. So yeah, so your explanation is good to understand for me. That comment.
Yeah, thank you. But you have already read this paper, so for you it's very easy to understand. But I don't think my explanation works to the listener who have never read the paper yet. But anyway, probably one comment that I can make is that so the coherence, let's say by setting the coherence level is really high, meaning that the all dots within the circle move the same direction, but varying the number of dots within the circle across different trials, you can measure or you can investigate whether participant can really estimate how likely they're going to get based on the external probability. But on the other hand, if you fix the number of dots within the circle, let's say the really many number within the circle, which leads to the 100% probability of your getting a reward when you make a correct decision, but changing the level of coherence within dot motions, you can vary. You can investigate whether the participant really estimate how likely they can perform the task. By comparing the two different probability settings, participant, or if participants want to, the aim of this experiment is that for participants is to receive a reward. So they need to maximize the probability of their getting reward by modeling two types of probabilities. So, and that is, moderated or measured by changing the number of dots and the level of coherence. I think that is another adds to help your understanding of these experiments. But again, I don't think my explanation is sufficient. So again, if you're interested in this paper, please read this. And anyway, we've been talked a little bit about or only focused on the experiment itself. So if you have any further comments or your thought, you can just start. We can start the discussion part from now on. Do you want to say something first, or if not, I can first say something?
Yes, I think that's all, but yeah, and one, yes, that's all. Okay, so let's start discussion.
Okay, so the first thing is that I'm not sure whether I mentioned in the discussion in this paper, but I feel this is somehow related to the consciousness, specifically self-awareness, of course, because this is about the metacognition. But this paper, they shows how to measure the environment or how the brain model the external world on one side as an external probability. At the same time, on the other side, this paper tried to measure how the brain model you yourself. So I do not have any clear idea, but this is with this experiment, I think we can say something really interesting. I don't know, but probably related to the free energy principle. So in that, free energy principle or predictive coding framework, how we can, or what's the, variable that the brain tried to minimize in this case, or how the brain can minimize the error to explain, or I don't know whether this idea makes sense or not, but yeah, I can somehow relate this research to the predictive coding or free energy principle. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Do you have any ideas, Yoichi, or comment?
Yeah, I see what you said, and yes, and according to this study's introduction, and also as far as we know, yes, normally the metacognition in the experiment for metacognition, I think that, and the authors said that this internal and external metacognition is integrated, and we conduct the experiment. So yes, this study's good point is that categorize the internal and external one and separately conceptualized. And then I also agree with that right, self-awareness or self-metacognition means related internal of internal one, and like the environmental or external information and external environmental factors judgment, right, is related to the FEP, free energy principle, like the internal model. I think internal model means that what the external information come, and what they infer the external world, right? So this predictive model and minimize the free energy related, I think, the external in this studies external probabilities one, like related to the internal model of the free energy principle. And I'm wondering that the internal probability is also that also we think like the external one. It means that the internal internal probability or self metacognitive metacognition is related to like prediction error or minimize the free energy. I'm wondering. So sorry, my so what I want to say is that in this studies, external probability is, I think, related to the free energy principles, minimization and predictive coding. But this studies internal probability or self-awareness metacognition, how to relate to the minimize or predictive coding. I'm wondering. Yeah.
So, yeah, as I said, yeah, I can see or probably say it's related to free energy predictive coding, but again, I don't know how this framework can fit with this experiment. So that's I still need a bit of time to understand that part.
Yeah.
But anyway, another interesting point is that in this paper, the authors specifically mentioned that they measure the subjective estimates of probability in either or both internal or external. So my question is that, okay, then what will bias or affect the estimate, the subjective estimates of probability? Because it's not solely based on the, the objective estimate, right? Even though you can see, or I don't know whether probably it's related to betting in a sense, but you try to, believe something without any reasons, clear reasons, sometimes. And what I think, or I feel, what's the cause of that? Yeah, that's, again, it's still not clear, but yeah, somehow this, again, the subjective estimates probably like related to some consciousness or something.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know how to gain this, ambiguous or vague idea, but yeah, still need a time to, fully understand this paper and come up a new idea. But so the term subjective estimates mean that the brain generate the model, right?
Yeah.
I think so. The model cannot be the true, or does not necessarily match with the external world. So the subjective estimates, so anyway, that's part, again, also related to the predictive coding of free energy, probably.
Yeah.
So the subjective estimates and, just an objective estimate, or the seeing the difference between them can be considered as an error between model and the real world. So if you somehow try or fit the free energy or a predictive coding framework into this study, you can say that the brain always try to minimize the difference between the two somehow. But I don't know how that part relate to this work, and also I'm not sure whether it's will lead to reasonable explanation or just a vague idea again.
Yeah, I agree with your idea, and I also wondering, and also I'm not sure the word subjective estimate mean in this study, and also the object in this study. The measure is objective metacognitive data, right? Object or right? What is different between subjective and objective in this context? I can't make sure. Subjective means like the people or we or participants subjective estimate, subjective see or subjective decide which one they would do the task, which means subjective evaluate, right?
I think the subjective estimate means that you participant estimate the the probability based on your experience. But probably at this, or even though the brain can estimate the the true level of coherence or the number of dots in the circle or some ways, but somehow still they are biased. And I think in somewhere they mentioned that it's an overestimation and underestimation or something. But I think I read something about that, this paper in somewhere. So not always the fit to the the real objective one, but like there's some deviation or the difference, specifically in the extreme cases. What I mean by that is the really high coherent case and really low coherent case. There, the deviation difference will be bigger or something. But anyway, still I don't.
Yes. So I'm not sure these subject were using, and also and also for me it is so interesting that how to relate between the predicoding and free energy and these metacognitive categorizations or internal or external metacognition, and also and also the role is different between the internal and external metacognition, and this internal one is related to precise of the prediction, precise or how to say, how to judgment correctly the external prediction. Sorry, it's a competence or ability of how correct the agent or receptor can get the information detail samely or correctly the external information. I think it related to the internal option in this studies one. So self metacognitive ability, and also this study is external one, where for value of the how to get money or the how to say horseshoe. So external one is related to the change the internal model in the free energy principle, and the internal metacognition is related to how correctly the agent gets the information. Now I think so the internal one, external one is different, and the different relationship, different role for predictive coding and free energy principle. I think. Is it clear?
To be honest, I don't know. But anyway, so we've already discussed roughly 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So before starting, today's discussion, we've decided to, do this in a very quick version.
Yeah.
But we've
so you
muted, yes. Yeah, we've already reached roughly the same, as usual. So probably we should finish around here.
Yes.
Or what? Okay, then. Okay, shall we finish now?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, good. So today's discussion is just the casual one, not the standard one. Again, unfortunately, Aniko is not here today. We did not fully read the paper. We just focused on the behavioral part of today's paper. So our discussion is not complete, and of course, we might miss some very important information written in other parts in the paper. So just forgive us. Let's we'll see you next week. Let's see. Bye.